Title blocks are one of the most important families to get working correctly. By having a title block that works correctly, it's going to make filling out the information in that title block a lot easier for different users who need to access this title block. Now, while a lot of people who understand how to make families understand that parameters are the driving force behind certain families, especially a title block, it's important to understand with a title block how to make these parameters work efficiently once you get them back into a project. So what the example here is going to be is to take the Autodesk title block and add a sheet number parameter and a total sheets parameter that we can apply to a project and still have it work the way it's meant to work. What we're going to do is we're going to start just by manipulating a small area of this title block. And anybody who's already worked with families understands that in order to make a parameter correctly, we need to work with labels. Now I'm going to stress a few points to making these labels as we go along in order to make sure that they're made correctly. I'm going to make a label, 1/8 inch label, middle center justified. I'm going to drop it right there. And in order to create a sheet blank of blank, I'm going to make two new custom fields. I'm not going to use the sheet number that's here. I'm going to create a new parameter, and the important part is this has to be a shared parameter, and the fact that it's a shared parameter is going to be very important in making this work in a project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, create a new group just for my sheets, and I'm going to create a sheet number parameter. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to tell it it's a number or an integer, and I'm going to add it to my sheet. So I'm going to take this, add it over, give it a sample of 01, so this will be sheet 1 of, drop it in, and there it is. Now I can take it, resize it, make it line up correctly, and make it look nice and pretty. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, make a copy of it over here. So we're going to have sheet blank of blank. Now, in a good working title block, what's going to happen is this is going to be different on every single sheet. However, this is going to be the same for the entire project. Now, when it comes to setting this up, there's really no difference in the title block. So I'm just going to create a second parameter for total sheets, which will also be a number parameter. I'll go ahead and add that in. Oops, if I actually add it, remove, do this one more time. Okay. So now that that's in, you can give it a test value. So we'll say it's sheet 1 of 100. Drop it in. It looks great. Now, an experienced user that understands families and parameters would have no trouble with this step. The problems usually arise when it goes to insert it into a project and they don't understand exactly why it doesn't work. So let's load this into a project and update it. So here's my new title block, and then they click on it and they say, hey, this is red, it's not blue. So that means the users can't enter this. The important part of making this work actually comes to that shared parameters file. Now you have to use the same shared parameters in a project, but what we're going to do now, the second step, is to go into project parameters in that project and add this project parameter to this project. Now, if this is a title block, it's going to continue to be the company title block. It's in your best practice to actually add these parameters to your template. That way, every project you start will automatically have these parameters in it. But what I need to do now is go to Add Shared Parameters, and I'm going to add sheet number first. And this part most people understand. So sheet number is going to be sheet number, I'll leave it grouped under other, and it's an instance parameter. In other words, it's going to be different on every sheet. And the next step is to go in and remember to tell this that it belongs to sheets. But you go and look for sheets and you say, here they are. You say OK and OK. Now when you click the title block, here it is. This is going to be sheet 1. Let's go do the exact same steps now to add the second parameter. So I'm going to go back to Manage, Project Parameters, Add a Shared Parameter, and this shared parameter will be my Total Sheets parameter. Now this is the part that's a little different. You say this is not an instance parameter, rather it's a type parameter, and you go to look for sheets, and you look and look, and it's alphabetical, so sheets would be between roof and site, and it's not there. The reason why is because a sheets parameter that's going to be consistent among many sheets is actually not listed as a type parameter, but rather as a project information instance parameter. In other words, it is the same for everything in this project. So by doing this and saying OK, this now becomes an editable parameter where we can say it's sheet 100. And if I go look at sheet 102 and zoom right in, there it is. So this is now sheet 2. Instance parameter, type parameter. Change it on each one, it'll change on each sheet, exactly as expected. This is how project parameters such as owner and project name behave as well. And if I go look at project information, we'll see that we now have issue date, project status, owner, project name, and total sheets. Now if total sheets is going to be an integer, just make it an integer. You won't see all the dots. But if you wanted a parameter that allows more options, such as 99.1, which for sheets I can imagine you wouldn't, we made it as a number. Either one will solve this problem, and now you can successfully go handle this and make your own sheets of blank.